So tonight, folks, we're going to be talking about the newly announced, literally just last night, the newly announced Combat Patrol boxes that Games Workshop are bringing out for Warhammer 40K. And initially, the first ones that they've showed us are the Space Wolves box, and there is one for Death Watch as well. And unsurprisingly, these are coinciding with the release of those two particular codexes. So the only codexes we've had so far have been the Space Marine one and the Necron one, and they've kind of coincided with all of the intro boxes and the Indomitus box and stuff. So I would imagine at some point down the line, we might see these kind of these Combat Patrol boxes for Space Marines and Necrons, but at the minute there are a number of other ways to actually get introduced to those particular factions. And yeah, as I kind of said in my pre-ramble there a little bit, I was quite surprised at some of the reaction that people have had to the introduction of these boxes. So what I did this morning was, obviously, I found out the price this morning. The price of these boxes are going to be £85 in the UK. They are, if I can check my notes, they are €110 over on mainland Europe. And I've compared that to other things on the GW website, of which Alariel, the Everqueen for AOS, is £85 and €110. So if that price matching is correct, then obviously that would make it $138 in the US. I haven't compared it to the US prices, to the Australian prices. Sorry, I apologise for that. So that's how much they're going to be. People are obviously a bit kind of annoyed that it looks like start collecting boxes are going up in price. Most start collecting boxes are between about £50 and £60, depending upon which particular army that you're collecting for. So is it a price increase on start collecting, or is there a little bit more to it? Let's have a look at some of the facts. So if we start with the Space Wolves one. So what we've got here is this is the new Space Wolves Combat Patrol box. I've had a look at the points for this, and based upon I'm not much of a list builder when it comes to 40k, but using the basic basic point costs without going into any fine tuning of weapons and things like that, there's about 520 points in this box. I'm sure you'll be able to squeeze a bit more out when you start to put different weapons on and things. But in this box, there is a PRIMARIS INVICTOR Tactical Warsuit, which retails for £37.50 at RRP. There is a box of PRIMARIS Intercessors, which retail for £35. Now, there's one sprue of the Reavers, the PRIMARIS Reavers. Now, there's a new thing coming out for Space Wolves. I forget the name now, something Tooth or Hound, something they're called. And it is essentially basically just a box of Reavers with a Space Wolf upgrade kit. However, in this box, there's only 5. You normally get 10 in a box of Reavers. So what I've done is I've basically halved the price to try and see what the cost comparison is. So that's why it says £17.50. There's basically half a box of Reavers there. I've included 2 of the Space Wolves upgrade sprues because you will need one for the PRIMARIS Intercessors and you need another one for the Reavers, which is what will be included in this box. So there's another £18. They're £9 each for those upgrade sprues. And then there's a Wolf Lord or basically some kind of captain, which is the Haldor Ice Pelt model that was originally in the Tooth and Claw set. And it was also available in the last Space Wolf start collecting box as well. I've said £20 basically because the other kind of champions, the other kind of HQ models are about £20. It may be a little bit more if it was to come out on its own. It may even be a little bit less. But £20 is where I've pitched that. So in total, that adds up to £128. Now, if you pay £85 for it, that is a saving of £43, which is 33.6% saving of buying all of these things separately. So initially, when I kind of worked this out, when I had a look at that, I thought, well, actually, that's pretty good value. If you were going to buy these things anyway, this is a cheaper way of actually picking them up. If you're absolutely brand new to 40k and you just want to buy a 500 point kind of almost pre-made list for you to buy something that you can then get in, start playing Combat Patrol games with, this feels like a good entry point. It might not be the most competitive. It might not be something you use kind of down the line once you understand more about sort of what's working in the meta and what's competitive from a list perspective. But for somebody like me, that's not a huge kind of... I'm not a big fan of list building. I love to be able to just buy a box, build them, paint them, and play them. A little bit like I do with Warcry. And that was where I initially saw this. Then I saw people kind of complain about, well, they're just putting up the prices of start collecting boxes. So what I did was, I then compared it to the old start collecting boxes. And what I found is that basically there was two different start collecting boxes. One was a PRIMARIS Space Wolves start collecting box, and compared to buying all of the contents of that separately, you get a saving of about 42%. And then there was the original Space Wolves start collecting box, which I've got all painted up sitting in a box behind me, and that was a saving of 37%. So if I go back to the old one there, this one's got a saving of like 33.6, 34%. It's not a million miles away from the old ones. Yes, it is more to spend initially, but if you were going to buy the contents of this, you're still saving a little bit of money. Now, there's been a number of things that people have talked about. Let me go back here. There's been a number of things that people have talked about sort of GW have priced me out. Start collecting boxes are more expensive now. Kids can't afford it. It's terrible value if you compare it to something like Dark Imperium. And I do understand those points of view. I get what people are saying. What I would counter that with is, if you are just dipping your toe in and you just want to try 40k, there are a number of different ways to do that. One is to buy the kind of, I forget what it's called now, but the cheapest of the three getting started boxes with the Space Marines and Necrons in. I think it's about £30 for the cheapest one. The next one after that is about £65. There are cheaper ways to try out 40k. If you've moved on from that a little bit and you decide, I definitely want to play Space Wolves, I want to play them, this is not a bad way to basically to start a Space Wolves force. As I said, maybe not from a competitive point of view, but purely just to get the models on the table. You're getting an HQ in there, you're getting a couple of, is it a troop choice, and you're getting a couple of elites, I think it is. If you think that's a bit too much money to spend, then you can always just start by picking up individual unit boxes and kind of doing it that way. So there are a number of different ways to get into it. That was how I kind of saw it. But I do appreciate that people see the start collecting boxes. I think it's £60 for the Primaris one. It's £50 for the original Space Wolf one. And then obviously there's discounts online. So that normally brings it down to, what's that, about £48 or something for the £60 one. And I see there's some value in that. Whilst the savings are roughly kind of equal, I get the point that people are making, that there's a kind of lower cost entry point. From a Space Wolf point of view, I think it's decent value, and you're getting a 500 point army to just go in and start playing. When it comes to the Death Watch one, let me go to the new one here. So this is what you get in the new Death Watch one. There is a set of Primaris Aggressors, which are £30. There is, let me go to my notes here. There's a Death Watch Primaris Intercessor, which that particular set, if you buy it separately, is £43. And the reason it's more expensive is because it comes with a Death Watch upgrade kit, which are about £9 on their own. There's a Death Watch Primaris Apothecary, and I was surprised at this as well when I went back and checked it later. It's £30 and 50p. And the reason is, there's a normal Primaris Apothecary, which is like £22. This one again comes with the upgrade sprue. And then there's a Primaris Lieutenant with a power sword. And you could use the Primaris Apothecary upgrade kit to basically upgrade the aggressors as well. So I think you get like 5 shoulder pads in there. There's 3 aggressors plus the Apothecary. So there's enough in there to upgrade them both. And the Primaris Lieutenant with a power sword, about 20 quid again. So in total, £123.50. A saving of £38.50. And this one is about 31% saving. So it's slightly less than the Space Marine one, but still over 30% saving if you were to buy them separately. Where it gets a little bit more complicated is if we go to the old, there was a Death Watch Start Collecting box, which I think was, if I remember correctly, was £60. However, points-wise, there was about 500 points in this one. And the reason there was about 500 points in it is that it's got a 10-man kill team, which you can build with some quite sort of heavy weapon options. You can build them as Terminators. you need to kind of understand the list building aspect a little bit more to be able to kind of understand the best way to build this kit, I would say. But it came with a watch captain for £17.50. It came with a 10-man kill team, which is £45, and it came with a venerable dreadnought as well, which is £35. So a total of £97.50. And again, the saving there is on the screen was 38%. So again, the difference in the saving isn't huge, but the jump up from £60 to £85, I do get that people are obviously surprised by that as an entry point into buying a new army. And the fact that the old box, which actually is quite difficult to pick up now, I don't think it's actually supported by GW on their site anymore, already had kind of 500 points. What I would say for this actual, if I can go back to this one, what I would say for this set is it's probably good for somebody like me who just wants the newer Primaris models. The old set was the older Space Marines, I believe. Just wants the newer Primaris stuff, wants something quite simple to actually pick up and get their 500 points and get them on the table. It feels like the two boxes might be slightly more balanced from a kind of points perspective. So I think maybe that they're trying. There's a couple of things going on here. I think they're trying to attract the entry level player, and they're also trying to attract people who just want to buy a set of Primaris stuff and might look at that and think, actually, for not much more, I'm getting the rest of the things. I think there's a couple of things at play here as well. One is obviously things are basically they're trying to streamline the entry point. Not necessarily from a price perspective, but from a purchase point of view, they're trying to streamline the entry point into 40k with these combat patrol boxes with 500 points. I also think that I was chatting to Stan today, and he kind of echoed something that I'd already been kind of looking into and thinking about. Is that essentially, I think GW are realising now that everybody gets 20% off when they buy online, or about 20% off. And I think those prices are starting to kind of creep onto the base price now. More sales now go through independent stores than go through GW's own stores, which means that they make less money per box. So I think what they're doing is, for all the value, kind of the savings are very similar. The entry price point is starting to come up. So people actually sort of spend a little bit more when they do buy something. They might still be getting technically what we would say is value for what they're spending versus buying it separately, but they're spending more each time they spend. And I think that's how GW will grow their profits and things. Now, interestingly, one thing that I did, let me just get a few things up on the screen here. One thing I did look at, these are the start collecting boxes. Basically, if you go into the Games Workshop website, Warhammer 40k filter by start collecting. These are the 22 start collecting sets that they do. They vary in price from about between £60 and £50, depending upon the different things that they do. And some of these will be nearer 500 points. I think the Chaos Space Marine one is about 500 points. Some of them will be a lot less. However, what is interesting, is what I was saying, is that basically, if we scroll down, the Start Collecting Drukhari one is no longer available online. The Start Collecting Space Wolf one is no longer available online. The Adeptus Mechanicus one isn't. The Tyranid one isn't. The Space Marine one isn't. And the Astra Militarum one isn't. Now, there's a couple of things that could be at play here. One is that basically they're out of stock with all the COVID stuff and all of that. Another one could be that these potentially could be the next ones that we see. Getting one of these combat patrol boxes. They might also be showing us basically that start collecting boxes are going to be a thing of the past, and that these new boxes are going to be the one that are basically that are going to replace them. So I'd like to know what you think, folks. Basically, how do you feel about it? I know people feel quite annoyed about this. That actually they feel like the entry point is going up. I've got kind of mixed feelings. I'm trying to kind of understand it from both sides of the fence. As somebody who would just like an accessible point to pick up a new army with a very straightforward way of getting started, I think it's a great thing. I think anywhere you can save money versus buying things separately can only be a good thing. But I do get the point that the entry point of getting into that army from a value perspective is starting to creep up, and I think that's what's really kind of pushing people's buttons, I think. Let me know down in the comments if you think something differently, if you think I've kind of hit the nail on the head, if you think I've completely missed the point. Let me know, and I'd love to kind of chat with you about that in the comments. Thanks for watching my video. I hope that you really enjoyed it. And if you did, why not consider clicking on the suggested video below to see more of the work that I've done. If you'd like to support the long-term sustainability of this channel, why not consider checking out my Patreon, where you can pledge and support from as little as $2 a month. And there is lots of different tiers and bonuses, which will give you access to a private Discord server. It will give you free t-shirts, free mugs, a podcast every month, and a number of other things, including getting your name at the end of every video, like these awesome folks who already support me now.